And the sorrow of Anna is presented in the next notebook. And there we come to find Ella. And the next notebook is yellow in color, and it contains a novel written by another writer named Ella. And it is called The Shadow of the Third, Third, Third. And the title is also significant. The title is also significant because when we get into the life of Anna Wolf, we find that Anna was married with Max Wolf in the beginning, and she had a daughter in the relation. And then she entertained a relation with Michael, and now she has been found entertaining a relation with Saul Green, and this is the shadow of the third. The title is in such a way justified. And the yellow notebook contains the novel The Shadow of the Third. And it is a novel written by Ella, not by Anna. And Ella is actually the alter ego of Anna. And this is an inner space fiction. And in the basic fiction, we come to find another fiction also induced or included. So in the yellow notebook, we come to find a novel written by Ella, and it is entitled The Shadow of the Third. And after all, there are again a few stories written by Ella, and they are also included in the yellow notebook. And the yellow notebook also speaks about the life of Ella. And Ella maintained a relation with a man and became mother of a son named Michael. And then she fell in love with a psychiatrist named Paul, who left her mercilessly, and she became emotionally upset and mad. And it is at the same time I would like to intimate to you the story of Tommy also. The story of Tommy. Tommy was the son of Molly. Anna Wolf and Molly Jacob are the close friends. And in the Free Women, we come to find these two ladies sitting and chatting. Anna has a daughter named Janet, and Molly has a son named Tommy. And Molly has divorced from Richard. And Tommy, the young man, is an introvert. And we find him quarreling with his father and uninterested in going out and looking for a job. And Tommy tries to commit suicide. So it is described in the it is described in the first notebook. It's described in the Free Women area. It is described in the Free Women area that Tommy tried to commit suicide. And in that attempt, he became blinded. Tommy became blind. And when Tommy became blind, Marion, the second wife of Richard, came in fact to look after him. Marion was the second wife of Richard. Marion was the stepmother to Tommy. And when Tommy became blind, Marion came and assisted him, took him away with her, visiting various tourist places, and made him more confident and self-sufficient and self-reliant. And we also remember the story of Tommy attempting to commit suicide and becoming blind and protected by his stepmother, not by Molly, because Molly is always busy and she has got her assignments every day, and very recently she has returned after a long tour, and in fact in her absence it is Marion, the second wife of Richard, who has got the problem of drinking, so looks after Tommy, and she also gets cured of her drinking problem. And about Tommy, we hear that he committed suicide. Tried to commit, not succeeded in the attempt, he became blind. And very interestingly, we come to hear in the Yellow Book the story of Ella. Ella is the alter ego of Anna. And Ella has got a son named Michael. And she falls in love with Paul, a psychiatrist, but he left her for joining with his wife. And Ella became frantic and emotionally upset. And the last notebook I told you, it is blue in color, and it speaks about Anna's relation with the people in the Communist Party, and there are also her attempts to change her life into the Sufist path. So she was provided a few books by a Sufist philosopher named Idris Shah. Actually, Doris Lessing turned to become a Sufist. And Doris Lessing was offered Sufist books by a Sufist philosopher named Idris Shah. And when we consider the life of Doris Lessing, we find that there are some similarities there between Doris Lessing and our Malayalam writer Kamala Das, very popular poet and novelist. Kamala Das also turned to become a Sufist at the end. And Doris Lessing was also turned to become a Sufist. And the last book, Colored Blue, speaks about her affinity with the communists, and after all, her disagreement with the members of the Communist Party and her views on communism and her attempt at embracing Sufism. And there are also the psychoanalytical reports made by her psychoanalytic doctor, the psychoanalyst named Mrs. Marx, and she is often called Mother Sugar. And there are also a few things about her present relationship with Saul Green. And the novel comes to its end with the two ladies chatting. And the decision of the ladies is the last point discussed in the novel. And Anna announces that she will look for some job, and Molly announces that she will continue film acting, and she will also look for a marriage. And this is a very famous novel written by Doris Lessing, and so there are 640 pages in the novel, and the novel is divided into 5 parts, and each part is again divided into 2 parts. And after that, we come to find Doris Lessing writing a few more science fiction novels. There are a few science fiction novels written by Doris Lessing, and they are entitled The Canopus in Argos. They are entitled The Canopus in Argos, and they are also called Lessing's Archives. And the novels are Shikasta, the first one, produced in 1979. The Marriage Between Zones 3, 4 and 5, 1980. And the Syrian Experiments, again 1980. And after that, The Making of the Representative for Planet 8. It was in 1982. And The Sentimental Agents in the Olian Empire. And these were the 5 science fiction novels entitled The Canopus in Argos. And actually the science fiction novels portray a number of societies at different stages. And the first one is called The Canopies. And they are science fiction novels portraying a number of societies at different stages of development over a great period of time. And the focus is on the accelerated evolution. Actually, it is somewhat an enlarged version of the communist thinking. It is accelerated evolution. And we come to find that the science fiction novels speak about some different stages in the development of the humanity. And the novels are Shikasta, the first one, the marriage between zones 3, 4 and 5, the second one, the Syrian experiment, it was in 1980, the making of the representative for Planet 8 in 1982, and the sentimental agents in the Holy Empire. And we have to remember the titles because UGC very recently asked the question. The marriage between zones 3, 4 and 5 was a novel written by whom? So in fact to connect the name of the writer with the book, UGC asked the question. The title was given The Marriage Between Zones 3, 4 and 5. A science fiction novel written by Doris Lessing. Starting with Shikasta, and it is also called Lessing's Archives. And before the science fiction novels. Actually the science fiction novels came late in her career. And before the science fiction novels, she produced 5 novels as Children of Violence series. She produced 5 novels as Children of Violence series. And these novels are semi-autobiographical novels. And the link protagonist is Martha Quest. Martha Quest is the link protagonist for these novels. The first novel is called Martha Quest, and the second is Proper Marriage, and the third a Ripple from the Storm, and the fourth is Landlocked, and the last one is The Four-Gated City. And these are the 5 novels included in the Children of Violence series. And the link character is named Martha Quest. And the protagonist Martha Quest is a rebel from her childhood onwards. And the story is her story from her childhood to middle age. The story is the story of Martha Quest from her childhood to middle age. And when the story begins, Martha Quest is a girl of 15 years. And in the next novel, we come to find Martha getting married with a man named Douglas, who used to bully her and scold her. And a boy was also born in the relationship. And Douglas departed for the army. He joined the army and left Martha Quest. And the other novels, A Ripple from the Storm actually speaks Martha joining with the communist movement. She becomes a part of the communist movement. And the last novel, The Four-Gated City, actually speaking about a world in a threat of the Third World War. And actually there are 5 novels included in the Children of Violence series. And I told you, Doris Lessing came out with her debate novel, The Grass is Singing. And from her over, we come to find the most controversial novel is The Golden Notebook. And the year of The Golden Notebook that we have to remember always, 1962. And it was at the same time she came out with her 5 novels entitled the Children of Violence series. And it speaks about the life of a young girl named Martha Quist. And the story begins with Martha Quist as a girl of 15 years, a rebel. And she gets married with a man named Douglas. And she becomes mother to a baby. And Douglas leaves her and joins the military. And after all, she joins the communist movement there. And in a ripple from the storm and from landlocked, we come to find her relations with the communist movement. And the four-gated city actually speaks about the third world war in store. Speaking about the world in a threat of a third world war. And after that, after the Children of Violence series, she came out with her science fiction novels. There are 5 science fiction novels also. So in Doris Lessing's overview, we come to find that there are 5 science fiction novels entitled Shikasta, the marriage between zones 3, 4 and 5, the Syrian experiments, the making of the representative for planet H, the sentimental agents in the Olian Empire. And it speaks about communities living at different stages in history, and also speaks about a very distant future of mankind. And they are science fiction novels. And she is known for her science fiction novels. And formerly, we discussed the space fiction novel. Golden Notebook is called a space fiction novel. And these 5 novels are called science fiction novels. And we have to remember the titles, because UGC is interested in asking the titles from Doris Lessing. And Doris Lessing came out with a collection of 5 novels entitled Children of Violence series. And the novels are Martha Quist, A Proper Marriage, and the third one is A Ripple from the Stone, and the fourth one is Landlocked, and the fifth one is Four-Gated City. And she has got a novel entitled The Good Terrorist, and The Good Terrorist was produced by her in 1985, and it is a political novel. And the protagonist is named Alice. And she produced this novel inspired by the Irish Republican Army's bombing of London in 1983. It was in 1983 the IRA made bombing in the London city. The Irish Republican Army so demanded the freedom of Ireland and bombed a few areas in London. Inspired by this incident, she produced a political novel called The Good Terrorist, and the protagonist is a lady named Alice. And after all, I told you she has got 5 novels entitled as Children of Violence series. And the link protagonist is Martha Quist. And her life, her marriage, and the man leaving her, and her communist affinity, and the development in the communist organizations in Britain, and after all, the fear that there will be a third world war. And this is the subject discussed in these 5 Children of Violence series novels. And Doris Lessing also produced a few short story collections also. And she has got books like A Man and Two Women, The Black Madonna, A Man and Two Women came out in 1963, collection of stories. And The Black Madonna was also a collection of stories. And Through the Tunnel was an independent story. And she also produced a collection called The Grandmothers. And there were 4 short novels, and they were later filmatized by screenplay written by Doris Lessing as two mothers. So there are 4 short novels included in this collection. And I told you, Doris Lessing adopted a pen name, Jane Somers, for writing 2 autobiographical novels. Doris Lessing adopted a pen name, Jane Somers. And the novels included are The Diary of a Good Neighbor and If the World Could. And they were together published as Diaries of Jane Somers. These 2 novels were published as Diaries of Jane Somers. And these 2 novels are written under the pseudonym Jane Somers. So it was in 1983, very late in her career, after all producing The Golden Notebook, and after all producing her famous Children of Violence series of novels, and after producing her science fiction novels, she came out with 2 novels with a different pen name. She adopted a pen name for 2 of her novels, and they were produced in 1983 and 1984. And the 2 novels were The Diary of a Good Neighbor 1, 1983, and If the World Could. It was the second novel and it was produced in 1984. And these 2 novels were published as Diaries of Jane Somers. And very interestingly, we come to find that there are a few autobiographies written by Doris Lessing. And the autobiographies are Under My Skin, that is produced in 1949, speaking about her Rhodesian experiences. And the second memoir is called Walking in the Shade. And these were the 2 popular autobiographies written by Doris Lessing. She has got a few memoirs also. There are a few memoirs produced by her with autobiographical elements. And when a work is called a memoir, it must be autobiographical. Memory is memoir. And the 2 memoirs, the popular 2 memoirs are Under My Skin, the first one, and it was produced in 1949. And the next one is Walking in the Shade. And she also produced a memoir in the format of a novel. She also produced a memoir in the format of